Hello guys, this is Outbreak 101. Today we are doing a weapon showcase of the Astora greatsword. Its normal R1s are horizontal slashes. Its charged R2s are a stab and a overhead smash. Had an invasion to go through. Anyway, its rolling R1 is a unparryable overhead smash. Its sprinting R1 is a overhead smash. Now its weapon art is a giant thrust, which has never been seen before in ultra greatswords. You can also lengthen the distance you stab with this thing. And yeah, that is the basic moveset of the Astora greatsword. Anyway, hope you enjoy. My personal opinion on this weapon is quite surprising, actually. I see this weapon quite often in Dark Souls 3, but I never really had the chance to check it out. But out of curiosity, I decided to make a strength build based on the Astora greatsword. You can make quite a bit out of it. Its stat requirements is a 18 in Dex, and I think 20 or no 16 in strength. I think. I'm not exactly sure. I do know that scaling is around D in strength and C in Dex. Anyway, I buffed it up with a heavy, reinforce it with its 10 as always, and basically just went down against the invaders. My personal opinion on this thing is, like I said before, it's a really good weapon. Like, its original R1s, while not having as much range as other greatswords, does a medium amount of damage. It's not really a lot, like not as much as you can kind of expect out of other greatswords, but it's actually kind of decent in damage with the R1s. The R2s do a lot of damage. They do around like 600 AR, which is kind of ridiculous on the R2s. Then again, the Fume Ultra Greatsword has some a ridiculous R2 damage. Freaking 1000. It's kind of ridiculous at times. Anyway, its rolling R1 is probably one of its biggest pros out of the bunch. Like, the rolling R1 is actually, it's the only greatsword in this game that has an unparryable rolling R1. And the rolling R1 has like actually it has the most range out of the bunch, unlike, with the exception of the weapon. Plus, the rolling R1 also does a lot more damage than you would expect out of a rolling R1, with the exception of Ultra Greatswords, as they tend to have that. I should also point out that the weapon art on this thing is actually extremely deadly. Like, it does a lot of damage. It can be parried. I've had it happen to me at least once before in one of my invasions. It's not on video though, so I can't show it to you. But the lunge attack does a ton of damage. Like, at the start it do around 100 AR, but the longer you manage to hit them, it does around a grand total of 800 AR at a fully charged weapon art, like a fully distanced one, and a normal one being around 500 or 400, I think. The weapon art, you have to actually be very careful with using the weapon art, as I should say, it's very deadly. Like, it's easy to get killed with it. As you can see here, I would have been hit by that guy's greatsword if it weren't for the fact that I still had some stamina left to survive that encounter right there. Yeah, you should be pretty darn careful with when you use the weapon art. The weakest attack out of the bunch is probably most likely the charging, like the sprinting R1. It's not exactly the most useful. Sure, you can roll catch with it pretty easily, and I think that's probably its main job with it. But it has absolutely zero tracking on it, and more likely you're gonna miss the foe and leave yourself wide open for an attack. So it's not exactly it's not recommended to go for a sprinting R1 unless you're absolutely sure you'll be able to hit him, or you'll be able to roll catch the guy, because that's probably the point you'd be able to hit the guy. It doesn't even do that much damage. It does around normal R1 damage, it's slightly lower. If you use the weapon art too often, like if you attempt to abuse it, you leave yourself wide open for attacks. I've said this before, but I should mention this again in more detail. If you miss with the weapon art, you're gonna leave yourself wide open for a back 7. Usually, if you're happen to be facing off one who's using a Hornet ring, for example, you are not gonna really survive long. You're gonna have a bad time, like that. Even though that's not a Hornet ring. It's a bit of a slow weapon. It's not exactly a weapon you should use against dex builds. Like, I'm not gonna please hear me out. Yes, I don't mean I need dex builds, but not the way you think. I don't mean like the common dex builds with the scimitars and all that, because those are definitely manageable. What I'm talking about are ones that use daggers or bandits' knives or anything that gives them the ability to quick step or have a fast roll ability, because you're not really going to have an easy time hitting them, and if you're being forced to face them, you might have to switch with a good old longsword. I should also mention that the tracking on the Astora greatsword, like most, if not all other ultra greatswords, its tracking is absolutely beautiful. Like, it has amazing tracking. Like, the rolling R1 especially, you can get out a normal R1 in, or a weapon art in, miss the weapon art, and then intentionally miss the weapon art, roll away, and then immediately R1. More likely you might throw them off and hit them, which the tracking is around like 180, it's not really 360, you're not really going to be able to hit them from all the way around, you know? But it's still really damn good. The hyper armor, like most other ultra greatswords, it's okay. It's not the best. It's not the best hyper armor I've seen out of the bunch. Fume Knight's ultra greatsword actually has like it has the best hyper armor from what I've seen so far. There might be better ones out there. That's about most, if not all, of my feelings about this game. The weapons specifically. Yeah, overall, I should say that this weapon, in terms of rating, if there's a number rating, if anything, I would give it around 8.7. The reason I wouldn't give it any higher is because the cons of it can be a bit... It could be the meaning of life and death. Like, missing the weapon art can get you killed quite easily. Most of the damage on the Astora greatsword is kind of medium. It's not spectacular like Warrior's greatsword or Fume Knight's ultra greatsword, but it's still pretty decent. Its range is the range is not that great. It's kind of bad actually. But overall, those are about all the cons I could think of. Like, the weapon is extremely versatile. It's very reliable. You get this weapon really early on, like seriously, really early. You get it at the Cathedral of the Deep in the graveyard section, which is like the 4th area in the game, I think. It sticks with being powerful in the early stages. Like, it's a strong weapon from the early stages and stays that way for the entirety of its life cycle. It can be buffed, which is always a good thing, of course. It has great. Its scaling is okay, but it's definitely a common thing. Overall, this weapon is very good. I really enjoy this weapon. So, yeah, I had a lot of fun in doing this, doing all these PvP flows. Anyway, that's about the end of it. So, this is Outbreak 101. I hope you guys enjoy this. Leave a like or a subscribe if you want. Please leave a comment if you want me to continue the weapon showcase of Dark Souls 3. See y'all!